Welcome to I Am Well podcast. I am your host, Gemma, a nutritionist and mindset coach passionate about all things health and wellness. I'm going to take you on a journey to discovering what health means for you and how to create a life you love living. I'm on a mission to uplift those who feel overwhelmed with what it means to be healthy, reminding you, my listeners, that nutrition is only one aspect of health, and empower you to live your best life on your terms. Let's get to it. Hi, and welcome back to I'm Well podcast. Today I have on Gabi once more. Now, if you don't know, which you should know by now, Gabi and I have actually created our own program together called the Holistic Method. It's a 6-week program, and I have talked about it a little bit on the previous podcast, but I thought, why not bring Gabi on today and let's kind of like hash it out together. We're really just diving into the first module today. So the first module is like all around power of the mind. And I just thought, let's just talk about why we are so passionate about these tools, especially Gabi, because Gabi brings a lot of the mindset tools to this whole program. And I think when you hear someone's story and understand how those tools helped them, it puts it into perspective for you. So Gabi has been on the podcast before, and we have heard a bit about your story, Gabi. And today I just want to kind of dive in a bit deeper and talk about how you really pulled yourself out of those moments and how the tools that you teach women today helped you. So first and foremost, hello, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. What a beautiful introduction. I feel very, very welcome. So thank you for having me on today.
It's been nice weather in Queensland, hasn't it, today?
Oh, it's been stunning. Been down at the beach with the kids and now they're resting. And yeah, we can get to chatting and something that we're so passionate about.
Yeah, I love that. This is why I moved to the sunny state, because it is just so nice most of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I was saying, like let's first talk about we're going to kind of go in heavy first, but I just kind of want
That's
to
okay.
up how you first got started with the mindful tools that you used. I don't even remember when we were talking about the chat way back when. And if you do want to go back to that chat with Gabi and I, it is in our it will be one of our very early episodes. Gabi's been on 3 times now, so it'll be the first one that she came on for. So go back to that, listen to Gabi's story first, and then come back to this episode if you want to learn a little bit more about her story. But first, like, when did you first realize that the mind is actually as powerful as it is? And that aha moment, did you have an aha moment, or did you kind of, was it over time, little bits were kind of, you were realizing over time
Yeah.
that this is working?
Oh, no, absolutely nailed it. It was something that definitely has grown over time. And my personal experiences have led me to a deeper understanding of my mind, along with my own studies and things like that. But I guess my point where I started to understand how influential and how powerful your mindset was probably about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, when I started on my fertility journey. Now, yes, I had lost my dad. It's just over 9 years, and we'll delve into that a little bit deeper further along. But I guess when I really started to understand the power of the mind was probably when I started my fertility journey. So it was about 2019, and when I had my diagnosis of amenorrhea, so I had absence of period, I was diagnosed with severe hormonal imbalances, PCOS, insulin resistance, all the things. It was pretty much given to me that I had 5% chance of falling pregnant naturally. And I just fell into this victimization role. Like I just fell into this really negative, low vibrational, resentful state. And it sat with me for a couple of months. And and I was attracting that. And that's what I started to realize. The more that I was sitting in this really low vibe, negative energy, that's what I was attracting to me. So I was like, I was becoming more symptomatic with different medications that were thrown my way. And I just felt like I was going further and further, like deeper into the hole, because that's what I was attracting in that sort of negative state. And it wasn't until a couple of months later where I started to delve into mindfulness and meditation and different mindful techniques that I started to move more into a positive, abundant and really grateful state. Like I really focused on what I had presently, not what I wanted to have. But in saying that, yes, things definitely started to shift, and I could see that because my it's all energetics, and that's what I was attracting. So the more positive and the more grateful and the more abundant I was feeling, that's what I was attracting. But still, I really wasn't consciously aware of the power of the mind. I was having some sort of understanding, like the penny was starting to drop, but it hadn't fully dropped.
Yeah.
And I could see that these positive changes were having that ripple effect. It was making waves, like positive waves in my life, and things were coming my way in good amounts. But I think the penny really dropped when I became a mother, because that's when you really start to become curious and question your own patterns and your thoughts and your triggers. And you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I acting this way? Why am I thinking this way? And it all stems back to past experiences and your childhood. And that's when I just became fascinated with the mind, and I wanted to know more. And I just had such a desire to learn more about the power of your mind. And that sort of led me down the funnel of the studies that I've done. But like you said, it was definitely something that happened over time. It wasn't just this one moment, but was personal experiences that led me down that track.
Yeah. Isn't it so true? When you become a mum, all of a sudden you just start to question everything. Like you just
Mm-hmm.
because I think you're looking at your children and you're intrigued by the way they think too and why they're doing things and why and their emotions. And then you see things in your children from your perspective like that you do. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my, and it's crazy how much they teach you when you're a mom. Like it's just
It's
insane. So
like a mirror. You're actually like, wow.
yeah, and then them learning things that you say or you react to or you do, and then it's like literally you're seeing yourself reflecting
Mhm.
back at you, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's when it's the big aha moment, like, oh my God, I need to change this.
Yeah. Is that really me? Is that
Yeah.
actually really me?
Yes. So I love that you said that. We'll talk a little bit about that fertility journey there too, but you did quickly mention your dad and you
Yeah.
were on this podcast earlier, as I said, and I just thought it would be quite like reflective and really intriguing to know what you think about back then, like putting yourself back in that situation, looking
Mhm.
back then and what you witnessed and the pain of the other people around you, what they were going through as well. It's quite intense to not only go through yourself and you're trying to deal with this pain yourself, but then other people around you that are so close to you are dealing with it too.
Yeah.
How did you like looking back now and knowing what you know now with all the tools that you use now, do you think you could help yourself back then? Do you think you could help yourself back then, or do you think like you just had to go through it?
No, I definitely feel like I wish I knew more than what I did back then. In saying that, it doesn't matter what you do know and what you don't know. Like grief is grief and loss is loss, and it's huge. It's monumental in anyone's life. For me, like my mind just went into a state of shock. There was numbness and this unwillingness to accept the reality of what was, because dad went so quickly. It wasn't like there was a lead up, that he was sick over a period of time. He was literally here one day and it was Father's Day and we were all together celebrating, and the next day he had a major stroke. And then what we thought he would come out of, and there might have been like, a long recovery, but we were willing and prepared to do whatever, however, we needed to do. But then he just declined from there. And so, from this moment that he was here to the moment that he had passed away was only 3 days. So I think for me, my mind just went into like this autopilot. And I think, like you said, seeing those around me, seeing my mom, who's like the strongest woman that I know, completely break apart.
Mm.
I don't know. It was just this sense of, and my sister will 100% agree because she did the exact same thing, if not more than what I did, was this compartmentalization of, okay, this has happened, but I'm not going to show any emotion because I need to be strong for mum because I don't want to put the burden of me feeling the grief and the sadness on her as well because I know that she is such an empathetic person. She will take that on and she'll decline even more. So it was sort of like this prevention mechanism that had sort of just taken over my mind. And I just compartmentalized to the point where now I look back and I literally went to work a week after my dad passed away. Like I went back to work because it was like this distraction. And I was like, no, I'm going to just do that. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to go back into that. And now when I reflect back at that time and sort of the six or 12 months after dad passed away, there was so many emotions and so much trauma that I had just literally pushed down in my body. And we talk about this in the holistic method and the power of the mind and the body. It was manifesting in my body. And I didn't realize that at the time, but this trauma and emotions that I was pushing down was manifesting in my body because I kept having this reoccurring hip pain. And it didn't matter how much I exercised, like I was quite a fit person and doing my Pilates and dance and all the things. But I kept having this reoccurring pain and I was getting scans done and all the things. And I thought I had back problems but it was now that and I know that emotion and trauma is stored in the hips. And that's why, because I was repressing all the feelings I was feeling. And at that time, I was experiencing really painful periods. This is prior to me knowing about my diagnosis of the PCOS and all the things. But I was having horrific periods at the time where I was like getting heavily medicated. They were looking down the route of endometriosis and obviously there was all these hormonal imbalances that I was unaware of, but it's like my body was crying out to me to just release and let go. And I wasn't
Mm.
because I went into this state of shock and I just compartmentalized. And now it's sort of, I'm picking up the pieces later and upon reflection and really going, wow, like I really needed to give myself the time to grieve and just cry and release somatically, however, through talk therapy, through all the things that we talk about, even in our program. But I didn't do it. So I wish I knew what I know now back then that I could have started implementing. But at the same time, loss is loss and grief is grief and it's traumatic, and tragic no matter how and when it happens.
Mm. I couldn't imagine. Well, I can't imagine what it would have been like back then,
Mm.
how to get through that. We've actually, I know you've dabbled in this, and I know we talk like almost every day. So
Yeah.
I know that you know a lot about this too. But I don't know so much. I only just got taught about somatic movement and how releasing that trauma within through movement and stuff can really help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could you like explain that a little bit more? Like, as I know you have learned a little bit about it and you're really passionate about that now with dance as well.
Yeah. So somatics just comes, it's essentially the body and it's how your body is incredible. It's so intelligent. And I think we get so caught up with our mind and what our mind is doing. And yes, there is so much power in the mind too. And talk therapy is an incredibly powerful tool as well, seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, friends, family, talking to people. It's something that is so needed, but your body also can take on the experiences, the emotions, the trauma that you go through. And if you don't allow and give yourself the opportunity to release this becomes stored in the body and it will manifest. It will, if it is not released in healthy ways, just like when you're talking to someone, it will manifest in the body in different, illnesses, ailments, I'm starting to learn more and more about that. And I'm just so intrigued, because, you know, there are different parts of your body that can be signaling different things, like I'm learning that, your hips, like this is a really important part of your body that does store the trauma and emotions. Whereas, if you're someone that's constantly getting sore throats and, or neck pain and stuff, it can be that you're not expressing yourself, that you've repressed something, you're keeping something to yourself that you shouldn't be, and it needs to come out, so I guess the somatic movement is about expressing emotions, expressing and processing, not even expressing, but processing what's happened, but using movement, and there's so many different ways you can do that. You can do that through stretching, you can do that through yoga, through Tai Chi, through dance. I love freeform dance. Ecstatic dance is becoming such a upcoming, trend at the moment. But it is so powerful because it's a form of self-expression, creativity, and just, indulging the feminine and really embodying the feminine energy, but releasing things that you may have, stories, narratives, experiences that you have stored within, and actually getting them out so that they do not manifest and sit there and have that stagnant energy that builds up, builds up, builds up, and then turns into something that, can really affect you and affect your health, affect your well-being long term.
Yeah. And I do want to just add that this is, if anyone's listening and kind of a bit skeptical on it, like this has been proven, like it's proven
Mm.
science now that, yeah, the more that you have to move it out of the system, out of the
Yep.
body. And I know from personal experience, like I can talk and talk and talk about the trauma, but there's still something niggling there that needs to get out, And
Mm.
as you spoke, it makes so much sense that that's that energy that needs to get out of the body. So I love that. And I
Yeah.
love that we bring that part to the holistic method. I know that's one of our I think is it our third module, is it? The
Yeah. Yeah.
body. So
Yep.
I love that we're bringing that into it. As we said, like the holistic method is a complete holistic approach. And we are talking more so about the mind today, but I just feel like that when you were talking about trauma, it was just really important to add there.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And I think that's what I love about our program, because we know it's not a one size fits all, and we know it's not just one thing that's going to help. It's a true multifaceted approach. It's a true holistic approach, that like I wish, when dad had passed away, when I was going through my fertility journey, that I knew everything that I knew now. I knew how to, somatically release from my body. I knew how to implement different mindful techniques. I knew how to sit with my feelings and really have an understanding of my subconscious patterns and triggers. I knew that I needed to embody my feminine energy more, because I was so in my masculine in that part of my life, in that career, so I wish I knew what I knew now, but at the same time, this experience has taught me so much about myself, and it really was the catalyst of my healing and self-discovery journey.
yeah. And speaking of those tools that you were talking about,
Yeah.
can we talk about mindfulness? Because I
Mhm.
feel like I mean, my whole Instagram is personal development, So every second video you
Same
kind of
here, girlfriend.
yeah, every second video you're kind of seeing mindfulness, but people, I don't think anyone really explains what it more so is. It's just mindfulness is great for this, and mindfulness
Mhm.
is you need to be mindful. But what does it mean to be mindful? What is mindfulness?
I know it can sort of get like this sort of airy fairy woo woo sort of connotation around it, but it's actually something that's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, and it's used within different cultures for different purposes. But the crux of mindfulness is awareness. Like, if you literally looked for another synonym for mindfulness, it's awareness. So mindfulness is that awareness about being in the present moment. And I know, again, people will say, yeah, be in the present moment, but are you actually in the present moment? Um, so to be fully aware, it's not about it's about not living in the past, so not going to the what if I did this differently, or having these regrets and things like that. It's also not living in the present, in the future, and constantly being goal driven. Although that's important, it's about coming back to the present moment and what you're doing right now. And mindfulness is actually centered around three themes. So you've got the awareness, the compassion and full presence. So awareness essentially is the acceptance that everything is seasonal. So you might be going through struggles right now, maybe loss of family members, maybe separation, maybe financial struggles, maybe confusion with career. So you might be going through some pain and some struggle right now, but you need to, I guess the crux of mindfulness is knowing that and that awareness that it's only seasonal. It will pass. This pain, this suffering, this whatever you're going through is not going to last. And, I think upon reflection, even with dad, like, it was such a painful time. And yes, I am triggered, especially around his birthdays and anniversaries and things like that. But I know that that pain is not going to last, that suffering.
Mm.
And I guess it's also coming back to giving yourself that compassion and that same love, that loving kindness that you would give someone else, and knowing that, giving yourself that grace, giving yourself that courtesy, not putting yourself down. And I guess that comes back to that inner dialogue and what you're telling yourself in your mind, and, getting angry at yourself, that inner critic, and that's a whole nother thing that we can delve into. But that's one part of mindfulness. The other part is the attention. So that awareness that of breaking the autonomy of life. So it's actually phenomenal how much we do in autopilot every single day. Like 90% of our day, we run on autopilot, driving to and from work, washing the dishes, showering yourself, like all of these things we do on autopilot from our subconscious mind, and we're not even mindfully aware of what we're doing. And that's why mindfulness is so important, because it brings you back to that present moment. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, actually indulge your senses. What are you feeling? And it gets you to be in the role of this inquisitive, curious observer. So you're actually sort of stepping out and you're observing, what am I doing in this present moment? Oh, I'm washing the dishes. How does that feel? Why am I doing it? And it gets you out of this judgmental state as well. So you're becoming this curious, inquisitive observer, having this self-inquiry about what you're doing, but you're not passing judgment at the same time. And you're knowing that you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you are just pure energy. And mindfulness really puts you in that present state and that understanding that, getting you to understand what you're doing, how you're feeling. You become more in tune with yourself. And that's what I love about mindfulness. And the other part is obviously the full presence. So it's that understanding that, finding the balance between your past, your present, and your future. Because some of us get so hung up in the past, and we get in these states of like, what if I did this differently? Or how come if I, did this a certain way? And we can go down the path of like the regrets, and vice versa. We can get so hung up with our future goals, and then problems start to arise, and we start to have an imbalance, because we get so upset with ourselves when these goals don't come to fruition in the time frame that we wanted, in the manner that we wanted, because we got so hung up. And that's not to say that it's not good to have goals. I have goals. I love vision boards. I love manifestation. I love setting intentions. I love doing all of those things. They are incredibly powerful tools. But if you get so hung up with what's going to happen in the future, and you forget to actually live in the present moment and be mindful, what happens when they don't, if they don't happen in that time frame or in that manner? Then we get hung up, and then we go into this negative, low vibrational state. And remember, that's what you're going to be attracting if you're sitting in that state.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess mindfulness, yeah, really centers around that compassion, around that awareness, and around that full presence, and just breaking the autonomy of life and just living in the present moment, actually taking a breath, being that curious observer, and asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this? And you start to delve down this path of, I guess, personal development and self-discovery and healing for so many people, because there's so much that we have stored within our subconscious that we do need to heal through. And it really informs our beliefs, which impacts our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to so much of everything you just said then.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, and yeah, it's just, it's when you think about it, like just how much you go on autopilot, and that's what mindfulness is. It's that awareness. So it's not this airy fairy thing of like, oh, I'm zen and I'm calm and I'm relaxed. Yes, that's part of it, but it's actually just being present really in the moment and breaking some of that autonomy and questioning and becoming that curious observer without judgment and understanding more about you and your thoughts and your patterns and all of those things.
And it works so well, and I always forget. I always go through these highs and lows of my business, of life and everything. And I start getting that anxiety creep in because I'm
Mhm.
starting to worry about the future. I'm starting to plan for the future. Like you said, like goals are great. And I'm very like you got to work hard to be successful. Like that's how I grew up, kind of mind frame. So I started getting that anxiety creep in. And I know I'm prone to anxiety because I do worry about the future.
Mm.
And it's not until I catch myself and I take a breather and then I go, okay, what's happening right now, like in this moment here?
Yeah.
And what are the chances of what I'm worrying about actually going to happen? And as you said, the more I worried about it, the more things started to be difficult around me, the more negative things I started to attract. Mothering was harder. Everything was just harder
Hmm.
in my life. And and I literally can say this because I was going through it like only recently. Um, so it's just so funny how like you learn this stuff, but it's not until you like you've got to make it a real habit that it creates so that you can keep coming back to it. And I do find that it works 100% for me. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So talking about motherhood and everything too, you've got twins. So I mean, I've got two kids. So I know what having two's like. I don't know what having two at around the same exact same age is like.
Beautiful chaos.
Yes, I can only imagine. Um, so when the kids are, they're screaming, they're hungry, you've just got home from picking them up from daycare, you got to cook them dinner, and they're going, I'm hungry now, give me snacks, give me this, give me that, and you're going, I'll be there in a second, and then all of a sudden they're fighting with each other, the house is a mess. What helps you in those moments?
Did you just literally retell my whole day yesterday? No.
Well, that's
No, no, look, this one can be tricky. And I know that if there are mums listening right now, you're going, yep, this is me. This was me today or yesterday or every day. Look, we all have our moments. A couple of things. What I like to say to clients is firstly, think about how you start and end your day because for me my kids are up around 5:30, 6 o'clock, so if I am already in um a worried heightened state at the start of my day, then my feelings and my actions around my kids is going to be a ripple effect.
Mm,
So for me, what I found really important is to really prioritize time for myself at the start of the day and at the end of the day, because it helps set me up in the morning so that I can be the most present and grounded mum for my kids as possible, as I can. So
mm,
I want you to consider how you start your day. So make that time for you if you can. Just get up that 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour earlier before your kids, because if you're in a regulated state to begin your day, you're going to be more able to handle the challenges and situations that might come your way in the morning. Maybe the kids wake up and they're cranky, or they've you had a bad dream, or whatnot.
mm,
Um, so for me personally, I get up around at least a half an hour to an hour before my kids. I make time to do some meditation, and I'll go for a walk or a run, or I'll do a Pilates workout at home. Sometimes I journal in the morning. And same with night. Like after the kids go to bed, sometimes I'm exhausted, but I'll still give myself a bit of grace, 20 minutes, half an hour, where I might do some journaling or read a book, turn my phone on airplane mode,
mm.
and just really regulate my nervous system, even if I've had a bit of a chaotic night and the kids have been at me. So that's the first thing. I want you to consider how you start and end your day, because that's going to be really important, how to tackle situations. And it's not just to do with kids, it could be even at work, big things going on at work. You want to start your day in a with a regulated nervous system. The
Mm.
other thing is, you can't teach your kids to self-regulate, nor can you co-regulate with them unless you have regulated your own emotions. So in these situations, make space for you to regulate yourself, and make space for them to express their emotions as we do. So it's having that pause between the stimulus and what's happening. Maybe they're, yeah, going, I want food, give me some food, or there's a big mess and things all over the floor. Having that pause between what the stimulus is and then your reaction. So that's when I will implement things like a little bit of breath work. So taking some deep breaths. I might just take myself and walk away, and even just go down the steps out of my house and just ground myself in the grass in my front yard just for even literally 30 seconds. I
Mm.
might grab one of my oils. I love essential oils, and I might just do some scent tents, just taking some deep breaths, because we know that there is a direct correlation with our sense of scent and our limbic system. And for those of you that don't know, like, your limbic system, part of it is your amygdala, which is your emotional brain. So we know that there is a direct link with what you're inhaling will help impact and influence your emotional state, your emotional brain, your amygdala. So I'll implement tools like that, or I might just literally have a somatic release where I'll just sort of shake it out. So implementing those tools so that I can better co-regulate with my kids by regulating my nervous system initially is super, super important, and making the space for them to also express their emotions too. It's also understanding where the overwhelm actually stems from. So for me, lack of sense of control is a huge trigger for me. And upon reflection now, from starting my self-discovery and my healing journey, I reflect back on prior to when Dad passed away, like even when Cameron and I, we've been together 12 years. So even when we first got together, I was someone who was quite spontaneous. I would really go with the flow. I was really easygoing. Not to say that I'm not now, but I was very much more spontaneous, just fly by the seat of your pants.
Mhm.
Um, and now I look at myself and I'm someone who seeks out that control. I want that structure. I want that organization. I want things planned out. And again, I go back to the mindfulness and I become the curious observer, and I have a bit of that self-inquiry and go, well, why? What's changed? What's changed from there to there? And that's when I started to delve into that subconscious work and understanding that, for me, the lack of control that I had when Dad passed away, because I had no control over him leaving us.
Mm.
Um, there's a wound there, and that's caused this sense of control that I need to have, over, like, I guess, situations, with my kids, or, just having structure in my day and things like that. It's also like the fertility struggles, that was a lack of sense of a lack of control for me too. I had no control over, well, I had no awareness over, the things that was happening in my body. So I had
Mm.
lost that sense of control, and then, COVID, we went through significant money struggles, and COVID sort of came out of nowhere. And with our family business that we had, we didn't have a lot of control over what was happening in the world, and everyone was experiencing that. And then, losing my mother-in-law 2 years ago, again, I didn't have a sense of control. So I think for me, all of these personal situations that have happened has created a real trigger for me, because I feel like I didn't have control over those situations. So I need to have control over my life now and the situations that I am encountering on the daily. So I guess for me, going back to that question of the chaos and regulating my emotions, it's just more of an understanding of, like, a why, like, what's actually triggering me? Why am I getting so frustrated and upset? Why am I getting so overwhelmed? For me personally, it's because I'm feeling like I don't have control over the situation. And that's what's triggering. And I guess this is like leading into the subconscious work. So for me, Um, I something that I've been working on of lately is I really want to manifest more peace and more patience with my toddlers, because it can be chaotic. And I think a lot of women and mums will agree with that. They all want to manifest that.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to delve deeper and I had to understanding, okay, so what understanding my block. So why am I sabotaging this intention? Like why am I blocking this? Why am I not creating, like, when I am, and it's not always the case, but when these situations arise and I'm getting triggered by the overwhelm and the stimulus that's happening, why am I not coming through always, with the patience and peace that I want to manifest in my house? And it was because I needed that sense of control and I wanted to just have the house all cleaned and I just wanted to shut down the chaos and shut down the situation and control it immediately. And I'm actually not providing the space, the emotional space for my kids to release their emotions. Like when they're feeling frustrated and that, just like us, like we should be able to cry and scream and do those things. And we should be able to have mess around and stuff like that. But again, it all stems back to this lack of control that I had, And so for me, I know I need to really, dissolve that block, that sense of control so that I can have more patience and more peace, even when there is chaos, because toddlers are toddlers. Like they're not going to change. It's all developmental. They're learning about the world and around them and how to engage in social interactions and things like that. But it was something that I had to work on personally because it was a ripple effect with my family.
Mm. It makes sense. And also, what I thought really resonated and what you said there was that it's all about you discovering who you are and your trigger.
Hmm.
That's what you said. It's about
Yep.
what your triggers are.
Yep.
And that just is really clicks for me because it's like you see some mums and they can handle it. Like when the kids are crazy and screaming, they do have that patience. And you're like, oh, how come they can handle it in this moment and stuff? But maybe their trigger isn't that control, like that sense of control that might be yours. Their trigger could be something else. So
Yep.
that's why we should never one compare each other to each ourselves to each other, but two, I just thought, I wanted to really reiterate there how we really need to get an understanding of our sense of self in order
Hmm.
for us to be able to regulate that nervous system and get through those moments of triggers. Um,
Yeah.
let's just first talk a little bit, let's end by talking a little bit about the holistic method and why you think this, because this first module that we've done, we know it's quite extensive, and that's why we've made it the first module. Um,
Hmm.
so why do you think the first module, how do you think it's going to help so many women out there who may be mothers like us or maybe going through their own traumas and stuff like us as well?
Yeah. Well, because many of us aren't even consciously aware of our own patterns. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that that is the starting point. And that was the starting point. Like I said at the beginning, like that's when the penny dropped, is when I actually became consciously aware of my own patterns, how they were blocking me and how they were impacting my feelings and my actions moving forward. And it's that understanding about your subconscious, because your subconscious mind, everything that's formed in your subconscious mind happens between the ages of 0 and 7, which is why I'm so I guess intentional about, the things that I'm saying to my kids and how I'm acting around my kids, because yeah, your subconscious mind is built within that time and this will impact you later in life, whether it happens, in your 20s, your 30s, when you become a mother and so forth. So the power of the mind is incredible, and it's about having those tools to create a more present and aware lifestyle
Mhm.
with the preventative and restorative tools that will attract more opportunities in your life and provide you more peace and calm and possibilities. So I guess in module 1 we look at, the subconscious and how the subconscious really can impact the things that you do every day. Because remember, your beliefs, those things that were built in your mind between the ages of 0 and 7, they impact the thoughts that you have and the way you think, that inner dialogue, your inner critic. It impacts how you feel with situations, and then that impacts your actions. And those actions will impact those around you, whether that's your family, your colleagues, your friends, your relationships, all of those things. It is all a ripple effect. So it starts with you and having more conscious awareness of your mind, but then also having the tools so that you can live a more mindful lifestyle. And I call them the preventative tools. So they're the things that you start doing every day, and you become it. You make it into a habitual experience. So you might do that once a day or once a week or 3 times a week, because consistency does not mean every day. And I want to break that stereotype. Consistency is just regular with frequency. So starting with the preventative tools like breath work, like meditation, like grounding, somatic experiences, and so forth. But then also implementing restorative tools. And that's when we delve into that shadow work. So, how can we actually restore the things that I'm feeling and the impacts that that's having in my life? Because I want to live a more peaceful, calm lifestyle, and I want to attract more possibilities and opportunities into my life. I want to attract abundance. I want to be a master manifester of my life. And we know how the mind impacts the body and vice versa. And there is this deep flow between them both. And that's why we delve into the mind first, and then we flow through the hormones and into the body, and how there is such a big, beautiful connection between both, and how they are both so fundamental in balancing in your life.
Mm. I'm really, really excited about our program. And I was thinking about it before, and I hate actually even calling it a program or a course because
I
I think
know.
that makes it feel really structured. But it's not this structured feeling. It's more of we are just giving the tools that we know that has worked for us and worked for so many women around us. Like we've seen so many results in other women that
Mm-hmm.
we not like why not be able to help women go what you went through back with your first traumas, then with your fertility struggles, and what I went through with my hormonal imbalances and other traumas. And I just think I'm so excited because it's going to help so many, but also we also bring that community aspect too.
Yeah.
I'm really excited that we have that group chat with all of us as well. And I just know I've done masterminds before, and I know how powerful these group chats can be. And I just keep thinking of, early 20s Gabby, who was going through that trauma with her dad, and imagine if she had women that were there in that group, that community of women being able to support her that weren't so close, because you did have your close family that were going through it. But imagine having a close-knit group of women that weren't so actually in it, that you could be able to express yourself a little bit more, and they could be there for you in a different way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I'm really excited about with our holistic method program. And
And and I think also, like, your biggest shifts come from reflection, so it's about taking this time in, coming into this community, in this beautiful community where we delve into all parts of your lifestyle, your mind, your body, your diet, your current lifestyle, and starting to like uncover these blocks, identifying these patterns, challenging these old beliefs, and expanding the threshold to hold more. And by having a community of women around you, really supporting you, motivating you, empowering you, but also going through the struggles, going through the
yeah,
setbacks together, it's such a powerful thing. The collective, women collectively coming together is incredibly just
yeah.
magical. It's a magical thing. So
Mm.
I love that not only do we cover various aspects of our lifestyle within our mastermind, our program, we've got that sense of community, and that is the essence of it all.
And I know that it's going to help because I know we've helped each other so much, like through our own ups and downs, and we literally met online. So it's just crazy that it's done this full circle and now we've created this. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And this is only part one in this. We're doing a part three series. So today's topic was really just covering about the mind, and it was a bit of a heavy one, and it's hard to condense the mind, hence why our first module is our biggest module.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those who join anytime now, we don't start until the 28th of October, but you do actually get access to the first module as soon as you sign up because it is such a comprehensive module, as we know.
Yeah. So just, yeah, if you're ready to feel, equipped and educated on the mind and just become more consciously aware, if you really just want to become magnetic to abundance in your life and just find that balance and serenity, like this is this is the program. Like this is for you.
Yeah. And this is what we're passionate about. This is our life. And yeah.
Absolutely.
The link to the holistic method is in the show notes below. So check it out, see what you think. And you have 2 weeks left, 2 weeks left to sign up. So yeah, can't wait to get started with you, Gabby. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me again.
And we'll talk to you in part two of the next episode. Bye, guys.